Does anybody have a question?
Stuart, it's Brad. I have a question, please.
Yes, Brad?
It's about the organicity or the organic nature of this work in turning my garbage into chi. Over the last 6 months, I've noticed I'm aware of or be more conscious of what doesn't work about me personally, both personally and in relationship. And I'm wanting to shift that and have been shifting. But I want to know in the course of the breathing exercise, how is it that you work with that unworkability or those thoughts about unworkability to take them either from the heart into the hara, or is there, how do you work with it in the breathing?
It's not a very complicated answer, but you work with it the way you were taught, to keep your mind below the navel. As I've said a billion times, look, this breathing exercise, this double breathing exercise is not a spiritual life. This double breathing exercise is a craft. Understand? It's a craft. It's like a violin player knows how to tune a violin. Well, you use the craft to fine-tune your instrument, which is the chakra system. And if you use the craft in order to open the third chakra, you begin to just organically feel balance inside yourself. If you use the breathing and the gratitude to open the heart, you organically feel love and joy inside yourself. So the exercise is not terribly complicated. It's exactly the way it's been shown. If you use it, you are refining a craft that you've been given that can help you build a system inside yourself that organically grows from one level of life to another level of life. Organically, comprehends, how to make choices, how to live, how not to hurt other people, how to say I'm sorry, how to, evolve into realms of consciousness that are of a much higher level. It all takes place because you use the craft of meditation to refine yourself, to break down all the blocks inside you, to get past them. And then you suddenly function on a different level in life. You're no longer being obstructed by all that nonsense that runs rampant in the human mind, by that emotional swamp that so traps people. People drown in it, by the lack of balance. I mean, you overcome all of these encumbrances. And as you refine your system inside, it then manifests in the way you live your life. So it's very simple, it's not thinking the double breathing exercise is a spiritual life. It's not a panacea. It is simply a craft that you can use to refine your chakra system, build an inner life that enables you to function here on a much higher level. And I wouldn't look for, all kinds of mysterious, mystical answers here. It's a very practical answer. Keep your attention focused below the navel. Understand? You will have balance. That chakra will open. There'll be balance inside you. There'll be harmony. There'll be rootedness, foundation. That's what that entire chakra is about. And the reason why we don't have those things is we spend all our time in our heads, where there's conflict, there's tension, there's all kinds of stuff that does nothing but make people crazy. Same thing in the heart chakra. Feel gratitude, learn how to breathe into the heart chakra. It will open and strengthen itself where you can sustain the love you have for another human being. You don't allow yourself to get caught up in all of these emotional and mental little games that we play with ourselves, you know? So it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing, this, you know? But what's not easy is the consistency of using the double breathing exercise to develop yourself inside. We get caught up in all the nonsense of life, get swept away into it. And that also is our teacher. You understand? It's teaching us that we need to work deeper. We need to build a system that's a lot stronger. Otherwise, life we just get swept away in all of the insanity that goes on in the world. You know, most people are not conscious. That's why there's not a lot of consciousness in life. And to have expectations about the way other people should function is instantly dooming oneself to a life of misery. I need it because nobody is going to function the way you think they're supposed to function. But building a chakra system allows us to accept life as it is. Learn from it, grow because of it, let it teach us. It's an incredible thing to be able to live that way. But how do you live that way if the whole system inside a human being is just full of chaos? The chakra system isn't highly developed. So it's a step-by-step process. And it all works organically. It doesn't, as I said in the class this afternoon, I can't write all this on a blackboard, expect you to memorize it and live that way. It's not going to work. You have to build an inner life that step by step grasps, apprehends this, comprehends this intuitively, not mentally, but intuitively. And that takes time and it takes work and it takes not having any expectations. Have your own expectations about where you want to grow and what you want to do inside yourself. But don't sit around having expectations about the way other people should function. I promise you, you wind up in a sanitarium because nobody is going to do it. But if you build that system, everybody's your teacher, no matter how they function. You have gratitude because they are teaching you something about yourself and what you have to do. It's a much better way of approaching life than having to fit other people into our little box that we've created where they should live. And that's with our family, it's our friends, our jobs, our work. Wherever we go, we're always trying to fit people into a box and nobody fits. And that's wonderful because everybody is forcing us to say, what can I learn from this human being? What can I learn from this situation? How can I grow because of what things that don't fit in my box are teaching me about the depth of surrender and letting go, listening. When life becomes the guru, and what an extraordinary guru, much better than Stuart. I mean, basically, the best I can do is Kundalini aerobics. That's the best I can do. Helping people build that kind of system to where they can truly sit in front of life and let life teach them. I hope it's clear, you know, not only for you, Brad, but for everybody, because everybody suffers from this. Everybody spends, 90% of their time in their heads. creating a reality that's based on conflict and insecurity and fear, et cetera, et cetera. Knowing better. There's probably nothing worse than knowing better than everyone else. Being right. Big Rudio just said he'd much rather be wrong. It's true. And if you think about it, don't think about it. If you just digest it, if you're wrong, at least you can learn something. If you're right, there's nothing to learn. There's nowhere to go. You're crystallized, your life is over. Except to walk around bossing everybody around and telling the whole world how they're supposed to live. I don't know how you're supposed to live. I really don't. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm here to nurture people, to allow Shakti to flow through me so people can find the unique way they can live and connect with God.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Brad. That's why questions are great. They bring all this stuff up and it's wonderful, Does anyone else have a question? Don't think about it. If it comes from your gut, ask. Does anybody else have a question? That's really getting to such a basic level of living where we really like ourselves, we love ourselves. We are capable of learning. We are capable of listening. We are capable of truly embracing the miracle of life, the sacred nature of life, which is endlessly teaching every human being. And very few people listen, learn the lesson. They're fighting with life. I mean, what do you think this insanity in the Ukraine is? People fighting with life. It's so stupid. I want you to live this way. And if you don't live this way, I'll kill everybody. It's ridiculous, The whole thing is just borderline insanity. And I really like the fact that I don't have to live like I don't have to tell anybody how to live their life, including the people that are the closest to me. They come, they ask advice, I give it, but then it's their lives, and I have to respect the way they live their life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to? I mean, if you want to live a life and learn how to overcome any kind of expectation, just have a child. I promise you. It will teach you very quickly how not to have one expectation, but to learn, to live, to love them unconditionally and let them find their lives. I mean, it's extraordinary.
You just answered all my questions.
Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, I have a question. Do you think that the times we're living in now are crazier than any other time, or is it just that we know about it more?
I mean, are you asking and answering it or what? Look, is it any crazier today than World War II, World War I, the Depression, all the things our parents and grandparents had to live through? You know, people slaughtering each other in Africa for thousands of years. I mean, it's no crazier today. It just takes on a different form and it affects us because we're living in this moment. But I don't think it's any crazier now than ever before. And I think it's an amazing time to live, you know, because it's changing by the minute. Every minute, life is a little bit different today. And I don't remember in my life changing like this. And every minute is teaching me how to be non-judgmental. I mean, I don't know what the hell TikTok is and all these things that kids do and Instagram. And I'm like an aardvark, you know, but I'm not here to judge them. And that's their world, you know. I don't have to be involved in TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these things, social media. Although I seem to have a big presence on social media, like 500 videos. I've never gone there to see them, except I get a lot of students lately that have gone there to see them, and they're coming and asking me about meditation classes, especially people in Europe. There's a lot of people lately in Europe who have asked me about meditation classes. I don't think it's any crazier today. I mean, just read the Bible. It's insanity from beginning to end, you know? But it's an amazing lesson in learning how to work out karma. And if you spend your time blaming the world for your problems, I mean, you're going to live a miserable life. I mean it. If you are a victim of life and the world we live in today, and you live that way every day, your life is going to be miserable. But if you look at it and say, you know, it's just energy. How do I grow? How do I prosper because of this? How do I get closer to God because of all the things that life is teaching me? Not that I'm a prisoner of life. No. We're only a prisoner of ourselves. So I don't think it's any crazier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty crazy, but I don't think it's any crazier than any other period. You know, just read history. History is what? A study of one war following the other.
Yeah.
What history is, you know? And the miracle is that we have a way to build an inner life, as I spent a half hour talking before, you know, to be able to learn from this incredible university called life. Without allowing it to make us miserable, not being a victim. We're not a victim of life, we're victims of ourselves. We create our own insanity. And we can either grow above it and transcend it, or we get stuck in the middle of it, you know? Mm-hmm. We become a prisoner of ourselves. And there's so much energy in the cosmos. Energy of God, spirit, it's infinite. And that kind of power can give you an inner life that can transcend anything. If you open to it, if you stop all the bullshit, being the victim. How terrible life is to me, you know? And that has to do with everything, with the relationships we have with people, with our spiritual life, you know, the relationship we have with money, you know, which so cripples so many people. They live in such frightened worlds because of money, you know? And money is just energy. And if you build a system inside, you learn how to channel that energy. Relationships just exist to teach us how to grow. That's why relationships exist. You know, how can we live with another human being and learn from them to grow every day of our lives? Not a bad way of living. Wonderful. Then you just treasure somebody else. They're your teacher. Is life crazier today than it was? Could be. I don't think so. You know, I think it's just been crazy since Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden. It's just one insane situation that follows another. But it depends on how we see it and what we do with it and how we grow because of it. And then it saves us a lot of energy and a lot of complaining and fetching about how terrible things are. A lot of fear of money, you know, fear of getting older, fear, you know, all this fear that runs rampant inside of people. Or false security, thinking that you know, these things we have around us represent some kind of, they don't. The only security I've ever found in my life was being connected to God, Spirit. And frankly, I've lived on the streets and I've lived in palaces, you know, for God's sake. And, you know, the connection was God. Helped me survive the streets and helped me survive living in palaces. Living in mansions. You know, like Woodstock, that place I was like a freaking mansion. You know, it was gorgeous. I had to learn how to go above it. Or I could have been trapped in that place. When I lived in Europe for a while, I was living on the streets. I had to learn how to go above it, or I would have been trapped in that world. And I'm always grateful for every experience I've had because it enables me to accept anybody. I don't judge people. Just, oh, you want to work past your karma? We can get there, you know? So is life crazier today? It's different, but it's not crazier.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay. So as I finish these classes, God bless you all and thank you. As I tell you all, and I told the people this afternoon, you know, every single one of you is my teacher. And I don't proclaim to be all wise and full of wisdom. Every person is my teacher. And I come here to learn, and every class teaches me something that I need to learn to get closer to finally being free of my karma and free of life. Move on to a higher plane. So God bless you all. Thank you. And we'll be at tomorrow evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Good night.
Night. Thank you.